What's going on? Matt Savoca here from Awesemo.com, bringing you the AFC Championship FanDuel Contenders video. It's the Cincinnati Bengals playing with house money here. No one expected to get them to get this far, this fast, with their quarterback this young, and they are playing the AFC juggernaut Kansas City Chiefs. And the Chiefs, as you would expect, at home are favored by a touchdown here in this 54.5 total game. And when these two teams met in week 16, it was 34-31, but in favor of the Bengals here. Let's see if they can pull off the upset one more time. Before we get into this one, go ahead and like this video, subscribe to the channel so that you always know when we're going live. You guys know what to do. And if you could give me, Matt Savoca, a follow on Twitter at Draftaholic, that would be much appreciated as well. We'd also like to thank our presenting sponsor, FanUp. Check out FanUp if you haven't already, because they've got some awesome contests, including the Conference Chaos contest. That's $4,000 winner take all there, and a $10 entry. And if you use promo code Awesemo, you can get a 2,000 bonus point sign up even without depositing. That's the equivalent of $20 to bet on their platform. That's pretty good. Check out FanUp today. Okay, guys, on the screen, you see my 10 through 6 of my top plays for this AFC Championship game. At number 10, kicker Evan McPherson, won with a walk-off last week, and for a 5th-round pick rookie, he's been excellent. Still, a road underdog kicker is not one we always want. I guess you could say he's a value, more of a floor play than a ceiling play in the optimal lineup 26% of the time. Then there's Tyler Boyd, a 27% chance of being in the optimal lineup. The clear 3rd option in the receiving game and the 4th option overall still has a very high value on this pass-happy team. He plays many of the snaps and runs many of the routes for the Bengals, and has a pretty decent ceiling projection along with a solid median projection as well. Then it's Jamar Chase in 34% of our optimal lineups, and it's really just a salary consideration problem here. We just like other premium salary players a little bit more. If you want to lean your whole slate on Jamar Chase playing above salary-based expectations, I don't think that's a crazy thing here, but the math says he's the 8th best player on the slate. Then it's kicker Harrison Butker in the optimal lineup 35% of the time. Again, we just want to play kickers when we have a need for value, and floor matters more than ceiling. That doesn't mean you can't play them in tournaments, but I usually like kickers in cash games, especially ones at home, touchdown favorites, ones that are favored by 7 points. And then it's Jerick McKinnon at number 6. The 10K salary is pretty high, but at least 17 total opportunities in 2 straight weeks for McKinnon, at least 6 targets in each of the playoff games so far, and in 13% of our simulations, McKinnon is getting over 25 fantasy points. Yes, I know Clyde Edwards-Helaire is back. Yes, I know Darrell Williams is likely to mix in this week. He's practicing as well, but Jerick McKinnon is the most explosive player in that backfield, and he's in the optimal lineup 35% of the time. Not quite cracking the top 5 though. Who makes it? Let's watch and find out. At number 5, wide receiver T. Higgins for the Cincinnati Bengals here, and at 11,000 salary, it's certainly not cheap for a secondary receiver, but Higgins had a 194 receiving yard game this season in week 16, albeit. And, you know, that kind of ceiling, we just don't have that many players on a 1-game slate who can get there. Yes, it's different because Jamar Chase is his teammate, Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce on the other side of this game. It feels like we have an abundance of weapons that can do that, but Higgins might be one of the lowest salary access to that kind of ceiling score. In 16% of our simulations, he's scoring 25 fantasy points. I think between 15 and 20 is a much more likely outcome, but still, that is a fantastic look in our projections here. I'm excited to see what this offense can do against a Kansas City defense that has only been middle of the road. They're 12th among the 14 defenses to qualify for the playoffs in PFF team defensive grades here, and the Cincinnati offense has been playing above its pay grade for this entire playoffs. So I think you could go with Higgins or Chase. I'm probably not playing them both. Still, the optimal lineup percentage shows Higgins as the better chance of being. He's in there 36% of the time. At number 4, Joe Mixon, running back for the Cincinnati Bengals. And we don't have a lot of bell cow running backs on this slate. Yeah, it's a one-game slate, so that happens often. But still, with the Kansas City backfield in flux, I think Joe Mixon is one of the players that we can rely on for guaranteed volume in a way that we can't even rely on for most of the wide receivers here. So a 14.6 median projection compared to a 12,500 salary. That's so-so. I'm probably going to be playing him actually more in the captain spot, because when I do bet on him, I want to bet on him hitting big on that opportunity and volume. I could understand you playing in the flex spot. I mean, look at our latest simulations. He's getting into that optimal flex position 29% of the time, but I want him at the MVP spot. Sorry if I misspoke and said captain. The MVP spot on FanDuel. I think he has a solid ceiling here, over 22% of the time, over 25 fantasy points, and this Kansas City defense was bottom 3 in the entire NFL in yards allowed per carry this season. So Joe Mixon, a 38% chance to be in the optimal lineup. He's in at number 4. At number 3, Tyreek Hill, and that salary is a doozy. 13,500 on this FanDuel one-game slate, and I understand it because the ceiling is so high. The Bengals were the last place team among the playoff qualifying teams in schedule adjusted fantasy points allowed during the regular season. They were well below average in that metric to opposing offenses, and in 26% of our simulations we're seeing Tyreek Hill go off in the way that Tyreek Hill can, just like we saw last week when he had an 11 reception 150 receiving yard game in that epic thriller against the Bills. The median projection versus salary-based expectation, that's not going to cut it, but we know the ceiling is there. As I mentioned, the optimal MVP play 10% of the time, and in nearly a third of our simulations, he's showing up as an optimal flex. I really like Tyreek Hill in all formats, large field, small field, or even in cash. Get him into your lineup even at that high salary. I just think he's one of the best players in the game right now. He comes into the optimal lineup 39% of the time. At number 2, it's Joe Burrow, and yes, of course, quarterbacks are always rising to the top on this one-game slate, even on FanDuel, or especially on FanDuel, where you don't have to pay any sort of premium if you want to play that player at the MVP spot. Still, Joe Burrow, compared to the other quarterback in this game, certainly doesn't seem as appealing, but you got to remember, 348 passing yards against the Tennessee Titans, that's pretty darn good for a player in his second playoff game ever. He had kind of a dud the week before, 244 passing yards and 2 touchdowns, but he's been over 7 yards per attempt in both games this playoffs. And the Kansas City Chiefs, they're not a great defense. You know, they're better against the pass than they are against the rush, and they were better a little bit in the second half of the season, but you saw the big plays that Josh Allen was able to produce. Not saying that Joe Burrow is quite on the level we saw Allen playing at last weekend, but the moment is not too big for Burrow. He's got great receiving weapons, an awesome running back, and I'm not surprised to see him scoring over 25 fantasy points in nearly 45% of our simulations. I like him as an optimal flex play rather than an MVP, but I would say fine if you wanted to play him there in the optimal lineup 41% of the time. Joe Burrow comes in at number 2. Now, before I reveal my final play, my number 1 play on FanDuel for this AFC Championship game slate, just want to remind you guys, go ahead and like this video, subscribe to the channel so that you always know when we're going live. You guys know what to do. And if you guys could give me, Matt Savoca, a follow on Twitter at Draftaholic, that would be much appreciated as well. Also want to give one more shout out to our presenting sponsor, FanUp. If you use promo code Awesemo to sign up, even without a deposit bonus, you can get up to 2,000 bonus points, which is the equivalent of $20 to bet on the site. They've got NFL contests, they've got NBA contests, so definitely check it out today. Okay, guys, let's get into my number 1 play on FanDuel for this AFC Championship. At number 1, of course, it's Patrick Mahomes. The way he played in the second half and overtime of that game against the Bills, one of the best games of football you'll ever see. Yeah, he's going to be the #1 player on this one-game slate. He's the optimal MVP even at the highest salary, 21% of the time, and an additional 42% of the time, he's an optimal flex play. The floor and ceiling combination is unparalleled, even in this game full of superstar skill position players. He is scoring over 25 fantasy points in nearly 2/3 of our simulations, which makes sense, right? Because he's got a 24.2 median projection. I mean, you want to play players against bad defenses at home when they're 7-point favorites, especially ones who are on a hot streak. And that's where we got Patrick Mahomes right now. The Bengals secondary has been a problem all season, worst in the playoffs in schedule adjusted fantasy points allowed to opposing offenses. And I think Mahomes absolutely takes advantage of that defensive liability for the Cincinnati Bengals. They've gotten it this far, but I think the Chiefs have their number this Sunday. Patrick Mahomes is in 64% of our optimal lineups. And that is gonna do it for the AFC Championship game FanDuel Contenders video. If you're looking for the DraftKings version of this video, it's around here somewhere. Go ahead and look for it on the channel. We will be back with all of your Super Bowl content needs at Awesemo.com and on the Awesemo YouTube channel. Thanks again to our presenting sponsor, FanUp. We will be back next week and the week after as we lead up to the Super Bowl. Until then, I'm Savoca from Awesemo.com. We'll see you guys next time.